Hey, welcome back to the channel. It has been a hot minute since my part 1 to Braxton's 10 questions for atheists, and here is the grand finale, part 2. Turns out I was a bit more concise and got through the rest of the questions in about the same time as the first video, so be sure to stick around and check that out. While I'm here, future Sam with a bit more of a shaggy appearance than the old Sam, or the young Sam, I guess is how you should look at it. But don't forget to check out some of the new stuff I'm going to be trying to do on my channel this year. I was in a bit of a mood over the weekend and found a Christian video where they were debunking the demonic forces behind anime, and actually live streamed that, which was about an hour and 45 minutes, a bit long I know, but don't forget to check that out. I'll link that in the end of the video and down in the description. I'll probably be looking at doing more of those. I don't script my videos anyway, so it kind of seems like what's the point of not live streaming a little bit more. That way I have a bit more of an immediate benefit to recording something as opposed to just sitting here and chatting. And already I'm on a tangent just talking shit. And anyway, here it is. Here's the finale. Check it out. Hope you guys enjoy it. Leave a comment down below if you have anything you want to mock me for. There's a few good juicy things to mock me for in this one, but yeah, I will see you guys later. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and yeah, watch out for the part 2 to the anime debunked Christian video response, which I'll do live as well when that comes out, but also some juicy free speech hot takes that I want to put up in the next week or so as well. So thanks for sticking around, and over to you, younger Sam.
If it's a lack of belief sort of atheism, what is it? Is it 50-50, 60-40, 75-25? And at what point do you feel disingenuous saying that you merely lack a belief, as opposed to leaning towards, I believe that God does not exist?
I find it very difficult to pass belief in a proposition like God down to numbers. I'm not aware of any probability that I can actually put into that would give a meaningful answer. Like I can't say that I'm 95% sure God doesn't exist. Belief in a claim like that just can't really be put down to a number. Like I've changed my mind on so many things, and like at no point have I been conscious of I'm at 49%, 2 more percentage points and I'm going to switch my stance on this particular subject. Yeah, no. To me, that question's not something that's possible for me to answer, and to me it doesn't feel like it's going to lead to an interesting discourse anyway, because like if I was to turn that question around onto a Christian's going to tell me they believe 100% with all their heart that Jesus is real and that they've experienced the love of God, and what do I do with that? Like I don't believe them when they say that, and it doesn't lead anywhere. So yeah, let's carry on.
Now, I know we've all got our talking points, but I want you to struggle to be as sincere with yourself as you can right now. Doesn't it bother
I'm going to struggle
you a little bit that when we come to talk about the origins of the universe, and if there's a multiverse, the origin of that too, that the only real options you've got besides God is a past infinite universe, which is impossible, or the universe coming to exist uncaused out of nothing, or something far less clear than even those? It seems that for any worldview that includes atheism, there's a massive blind spot when it comes to the origin of the universe. And all the attempts to try and circumvent that problem seem desperate and at least far less likely than theism. My question isn't just what do you typically say about this, because I'm well aware of the responses. My question is simply this: when you step away from the debate mode that it's so easy for us all to get into online, doesn't this issue destabilize you a little bit? It seems to fit really poorly with any worldview that includes atheism.
How is the God explanation any better? Like, honest answer. The problem with an infinite universe, the problem with a self-causing universe, the problem with a cycle of universes in a multiverse, the problem of a God that exists infinitely, the problem of a God that goes back infinitely, the problem of a God that just was, a problem of a God that just exists out of time. Like, none of those things like help with the idea of what happened before the point in time that we can actually interrogate. Like, how does a belief in God go, well, our universe didn't pop into existence, a God did, who then popped the universe into existence? Like, I don't understand what the value is in like that line of debate at all. I'm not destabilized by the fact that we don't know like the origins of the universe. It's a big place, and it's a massive amount of work that has gotten us to where we are. So I just don't think about it, you know? We do a lot of things within society and culture to not think about, you know, ultimate end and ultimate meaninglessness of things. So yeah, that's all I got for that one, I'm afraid. And another question that I feel like it doesn't really get us anywhere, because it doesn't tell you anything interesting about me, whereas your answer likewise doesn't tell me anything interesting about your belief, because most religions believe God or gods created the universe. That's not unique to the Christian worldview, so again, it kind of needs to narrow down to something. But yeah, when the answer in a worldview that doesn't have a God is we don't know but we're looking, we can't really go any further with it. I suppose the discussion might be nuanced around, well, you say you've got the answer, but you don't actually explain any of the processes, and we're really interested in the processes. And anyway.
Of the arguments for God's existence, is there one that to you seems more interesting than the rest? Is there one that for you actually does weigh in favor of theism? Which one?
So for me, again, I've got to keep considering that you're talking specific about Christianity. For me, for Christianity, the argument for God, I want to say the church, but the funny thing is it's the church and the lack of consistency among churches that sort of worked against my theistic beliefs back in the day.
12 seconds later.
I think the best evidence is the sincere belief of sincere Christians. Unfortunately, that works both ways because of sincere belief in other religions and sincere disbelief from people that aren't convinced as well. But that's got to be the best evidence for me. So, yeah, we'll stick with that. Lock it in, Eddie.
Most atheists I've met humbly admit that they don't think they can have absolute certainty about much of anything. But what they want from the Christian is a demonstration that God exists or that Christianity is true. Well, when we offer the reasons to believe that we do have, those are typically deemed not good enough. So what sort of evidence, if any, would be enough to convince you? Do you know? And since it's often a conversation stopper, let's take experimental reproducibility off the table, since that's not even always necessary for science.
Right, so this one's... For starters, I think you're trying to conflate the idea that we can't know anything for certain, the problem of solipsism, and by contrasting that with the apparent request for believers to give us 100% true, philosophically knowable, absolutely no way for it to be wrong demonstration of God, which I don't think that's really presenting the situation accurately. I don't think the majority of people that are asking with an open mind to the discussion for proof of God are asking for 100% absolute facts. So let's put it into context where, like take something that is considered a scientific fact, such as evolution. We believe evolution to be true based on the body of evidence, but science can accept that if something comes up to prove something is incorrect about the current understanding of evolution, it will change that. So we don't know evolution as we see it today 100% is the exact fact of the world, but we do have a high level of confidence in the data that we've seen and the experiments and the predictions and all that sort of stuff. Asking believers to provide us with a similar level of assurance of the truth of their claim doesn't seem unreasonable to me, because we're not asking for them to bring us a philosophical truth. We're asking them to bring us a physical probability. And I don't want to use probability either, because again, numbers don't really make sense, particularly if we're taking reproducibility in a lab off the table, as you sort of suggest, as it's a bit of a non-starter, which, I mean, once we can't use a claim to, like, once we can't test it, once we can't investigate it, I mean, how are you going to demonstrate something that you can't reproduce? Like, you can't demonstrate a fact if you can't reproduce an outcome based on a prediction, because that's no longer a fact. I think this says more about the weakness of the evidence that Christianity claims as evidence than it does about the expectations of non-Christian worldviews. And I think that's potentially the issue, not how receptive we are to the evidence that you believe is positive for your claim, but with the ability for those claims to be demonstrated to people that aren't predisposed to belief in Christianity.
To what extent did social and moral issues start you down the path toward your atheism? That is to say, the typical Christian or religious views on sexuality, gender, rights, and acts and commands of God in the Old Testament. It seems that many deconversion stories online begin with, or at least include, LGBT issues, purity culture, or hell as instrumental in the deconversion process. It strikes me that what should matter most is the truth and not what we might prefer that the truth were. I honestly wonder how much those issues and ones like them motivate the deconversion rather than all this talk about evidence.
So my social views didn't change at my conversion. They changed over time afterwards, after my deconversion. What led to my deconversion wasn't social issues. It was an investigation of the Bible, the history, of the of actually studying the source texts, of actually learning to understand and read passages of the Bible in their original languages, mostly Greek in the subjects that I took. Instead of being taken as literary allegories, they were taken as natural facts by the church. Yeah, maybe you're familiar with this, Braxton, but like, this is one that struck me back in the day when I was in Bible college, and the idea that the book of Job, it tells the story obviously of Job losing everything and getting everything back sevenfold because he never stopped praising God when God was testing him and making the bet with Satan. And I remember hearing an idea that the time when the book of Job was considered to have been written, now, if you forgive me, I don't have the specific facts and dates and stuff to hand. And again, sincere response, so I'm trying to respond from where I'm at as opposed to from let's research this into the ground and have a dry discussion. But the idea was that the book of Job was a political writing criticizing the acts of kings within the context that it was written. So the idea being that a foreign power would invade a land, they would take over that land and subjugate the king, and that king would be responsible for sending taxes to the new overlord, the new ruling nation. But beyond that, they would send spies into the land who would try and tempt the king into showing disloyalty to test and see whether they really were loyal to the new rulers. And in that, they would try and basically entrap them into admitting that they were, trying to plan a uprising, or planning on not sending taxes, or planning on hiding things from the conquering ruler. And basically the book of Job was a criticism of that tactic, and that God was being placed as the ruling kingdom, Job was the new vassal kingdom, and Satan was the spy being sent to sort of mess with that king and sort of test their loyalty. And being presented with that text as this is how this text might have functioned to the people for which it was specifically written, versus the way it gets used by Christianity in developing theological statements about the blessings of God and about the temptation of Satan and about, that type of Christian theology removed from its historical context. It's stories like that, and the more I was able to find those types of explanations for things written in the Bible, that led me away to a point of deconverting. Yes, there were surrounding factors around people in the church not acting in a Christian way, and I understand that that's very easily, well, you rejected the people, not the God. You need to get to know the God. But my response to that is that when part of the claims are that God inhabits the people, you would expect the people to act differently as a whole instead of it being pretty consistent across the groups that I came across. So no, there was no social or political causes that motivated my deconversion. It was the things that I saw as inconsistencies with a Bible that is inspired by God versus a Bible that is constructed of books that are written by men who are trying to understand the world around them, the people around them, and the interactions that they're having. And that kind of demystifies the Holy Book down to just another historical document that's fascinating, but not unique in terms of historical documents.
Can you name the last 3 academic books you read by theists on the subject? How long ago did you read them? Or is most of your understanding of apologetics and atheism from non-scholarly internet sources, pop-level books, and, let's face it, YouTube videos? And be honest with yourself about this. Anyone can Google up a list of books and paste them in the comments section. But I want to know, are you getting the best from the other side?
Hang on. All right. Let's see. Whew. All right, so this is a whole bunch of my Bible college studies. It wasn't just New Testament, it was the whole book, I swear. I sort of flicked through the bibliography of quite a few of these. I'm trying to find one that stuck out that I actually remembered, but I don't really remember them specifically. James Montgomery Boyce, Acts, Baker Goods, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 1997. Introducing the New Testament. That looks like it's actually a selection of quite a few people, including Paul J. Ackmeister, Joel B. Green, Marianne May Thompson. New Testament Theology by Leon Morris. That's from 1986, but hey, it's the Bible. It's been around for quite a while. A fresh looks at the Acts of the Apostles, Howard Marshall. So yeah, look, I'll admit, if it was bread, it would be a bit stale. But in saying that, I don't think it should matter if it's 1996 to 2001. It's been a while. Versus 2020, a lot of the stuff hasn't changed from what I've seen and listened to online. But I put a lot of work into getting as much as I can out of Christian worldview and Christian teachings. A lot of work. So I'm happy with my diligence in getting the best from the other side. So yeah. What are we up to? 9 or 10?
Let's finish with a pretty common one.
10, let's go.
If you found out today, to your satisfaction, that Christianity were true, would you accept God's authority, repent of your sins, and trust Jesus as your king?
I'm not going to lie, that feels like an altar call there, mate. Number 10, God, that's a hard question. I'm not sure that I'd be brave enough to not become a Christian again if I was to become convinced it was true. And I say brave because in my current worldview, I consider a lot of the edicts and the claims of value made by that worldview to be contrary to what I think is good. And I say good in terms of a subjective application of benefit for people and common good. or common welfare outcomes, I guess. So, yeah, that's it. That's the 10 questions, and that's my 10 answers. I may have split this up into two videos, depending on how long it actually took, and depending on whether or not I want like a freebie to upload in a week's time after my 6-month absence. But I hope you enjoyed. Braxton, if you watched, thank you for the 10 questions. I hope that the responses appeared sincere to you. They are intended to be my honest answers, and I may have just rambled a little bit and not been particularly interesting, but that's part of the problem when you don't do scripted videos, isn't it? So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please like and consider subscribing, and you can find my socials linked down the bottom. And yeah, I'll hopefully see you guys soon, and hopefully do another video fairly quickly. I might even try and record another one today while we've got the equipment set up and while I've got the house to myself. Peace.